everyone. It's Elizabeth from Alpes Astrology at alpesastrology.com. Thanks for joining me today. So today I'm going to do my take on the May 2023 astrology. But as always, you have free will to decide what you want to do. These are just a few of my observations for this month. So we've got the eclipse season continuing with an eclipse in Scorpio. And that's a full moon. We have a new moon in Taurus. And then we have a retrograde that will continue through part of May and then end later on in May. And Pluto will also go retrograde. So there's a lot of kind of things, a lot of moving parts in May that I think are going to be important for us to literally pay attention to. So let's start off with the 2nd of May. So on the 2nd of May, we have Pluto going retrograde at 0 degrees and 21 minutes of Aquarius. Remember that Pluto has entered into Aquarius, right? For at least a short period of time. And then it will make its way back into the very last degree of Capricorn for this year and part of next year too. So that's interesting that we've got Pluto going retrograde. Now this, I think, could, especially since Pluto is one of the rulers of the Scorpio eclipse that we have happening a couple days after the retrograde. So I think I get the impression that this is going to be some kind of pullback from people in power, where maybe they promised something to the collective, that's Aquarius, and the people, and they changed their minds. And they may even take it as far as, putting martial forces in place to control the people, perhaps. Because we're talking about Aquarius here, right? And then Pluto is power. So I see someone going back on their word and deciding to use their power instead against the people instead of for the people. That's what I see this Pluto retrograde still in Aquarius to be on the 2nd of May. So we've got our first lunation, which is going to be a full moon eclipse, and it is going to be on the 5th of May. It will be at 14 Scorpio, 58 minutes at 10:34 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Some of the aspects that we've got Uranus will be in the mix too from an opposition standpoint, widely in the opposite sign of Taurus. And of course, we're going to have the Sun in Taurus as well. Mercury will be retrograde at 8 degrees. What else have we got on? That Mercury retrograde will be sextiling Saturn. And I would say that this may be some kind of aspect that, because it's a Mercury retrograde sextiling Saturn, we may have to rethink some things, and we may not be hearing. I get hearing more than communicating. Hearing things correctly. It is a sextile aspect, so I suspect that there may be other positive things going on here that maybe making a mistake in communications with the Mercury retrograde, that you actually get to change maybe somebody's mind that's above you. Saturn can be, of course, a superior above us, like a manager or a director type thing. But the other thing, too, is this aspect of Mercury sextiling Saturn. It can also lend itself to the idea of learning things. Now, I know it's a retrograde, but if you think about it, learning is very much of a back and forth process. So certainly if you around this full moon eclipse on the 5th of May have some learning to do, that's a good aspect to support it or to wrap things up maybe a bit too. We have Venus in Gemini will be squaring Neptune in Pisces. So this is really daydreaming, but it can bring in a lot of artistic inspiration, especially with regards to music and dance. But on the negative side, this can bring in some disappointment in love. Now, with Venus in Gemini, I always view this type of thing as being more flirtatious. So maybe something that's flirtatious just is that, and it doesn't go anywhere. But it made you maybe have a fantasy of some sort that could have come true. Doesn't mean in the future it won't. It's just that there may be some little bit of the rose-colored glasses coming off. We have Saturn will be trining the South Node and sextiling the North Node. We have Venus will be sextiling, because Venus is in Gemini, will be sextiling Jupiter, which is still at this time going to be in Aries. And then we have Mars, which is now in Cancer at 21 degrees. Not the best place for Mars necessarily, but it'll certainly make us more protective of our families, the people we love, even our homeland. So on a sort of a generalized level, this could bring in more activity with regards to protecting our homeland. And yeah, Mars in Cancer is in its fall as well. So what it does, the effect of having a planet in its fall really restricts the energy. And of course, Mars is all about energy and a movement forward, that sort of thing. So there may be some kind of restrictions there with this placement as it is in its fall at this point. Now, the ruler of this full moon eclipse in Scorpio, they've got two rulers, but the modern ruler, of course, is Pluto. And we've just had Pluto go retrograde. So I would say just from that effect alone, and then we've got, of course, Mars in its fall. That's the other ruler of Scorpio in Cancer. So that the two rulers being in ostensibly weakened positions is not positive in terms of supporting this full moon eclipse. So there may be some, I would say, disappointments of some sort coming in with regards to maybe some feelings that you've had. Maybe you've had some deep feelings with regards to something or someone. And especially with that Venus squaring Neptune, it becomes clear that that's not going to be going anywhere, at least not right now. But, you know, Scorpio is a very deep sign. It feels things deeply. It can take offense when maybe no offense was meant. So I would say at this full moon, try not to get too obsessive. Avoid the compulsive side of Scorpio. And the biggest one is that possession type thing. Try, if something is leaving your life, so that's a very Pluto thing, or especially with this Pluto retrograde, something may be leaving your life and you may not want it to go. I understand. But if there is something leaving your life or evolving or transforming into something that is no longer going to be part of your life, try to look at the positive side, not the negative side, not that you're losing something, but that you've reached a stage of transformation with whatever that is, whether it's a person, a job that you're in, a place that you live in, a relationship that you're in, that the natural corollary of this might be to let go and to move on. I really get that strongly. It's a full moon. Eclipses can go either way. It doesn't have to be everything ends, but I get this very distinctive kind of full stop with this full moon. Because Scorpio is very much to do with death and rebirth too, there could be that sort of element or tone around this too, this death and rebirth type thing. And it doesn't have to be a negative thing. It can be that, you know, that phoenix arises from the ashes. For those that take the lessons of Scorpio in a useful way, you know, Scorpio is many things. It's the lower things like a snake or a scorpion, but it's also the higher things like an eagle and the phoenix arising out of difficult times. So this could also represent that for some people, especially I would say for Scorpios. I would say this might be true too. You are going to have the sun in the opposite sign, which is Taurus. And in many ways, the opposite sign, Taurus, has a lot more activity, not only right now, but as we progress through May. At this point in time with the full moon eclipse, we have, which still have Uranus in there in sort of more the latter degrees. of Taurus. We've got the Sun in there, and then, of course, we've got a Mercury retrograde in there. So these are all adding, in my mind, potential, especially that Mercury retrograde, potential for some confusion. So if you're confused about something, and especially if that confusion goes to you feeling obsessive, possessive, and wanting to control things, try to let go of that. I mean, even seek therapy if you need it. If you've got good friends or family that you can depend on and trust, maybe go to them if you're really feeling you're being affected by this. It's a pretty intense full moon eclipse, I would say. And it does mark the end of the series of eclipses that were in both Scorpio and Taurus. We still have another Taurus eclipse to happen in October this year, which will wrap up that Taurus part of it. I guess that's what I'm seeing here, is that the whole Venus sextile in Jupiter, though, is very good. That says to me opportunities to make money. And of course, both Taurus and Scorpio are money signs, right? So I think overall, this month of May could have maybe even some drama come in with regards to the money markets, maybe our own money. Big changes, I think, are going to happen. And with Uranus being in the opposite sign, going back to this eclipse, and the Sun being in there, I would say that there could be some surprises afoot here, for sure. And then the Mercury retrograde, take care with anything with regards to signing, say, documents for a new investment, that sort of thing. Yeah. Okay. Let's go on to the 13th to the 16th of May. We have at this time Jupiter, and Jupiter's a very lucky planet. It likes to expand anything it touches. It likes to grow things. And it's always viewed as a lucky type of planet and benefits to accompany its movement. So at that time, we have Jupiter at 29 degrees of Aries, and that, of course, is activating the eclipse that we had around the 20th, 19th, and 20th of April. And so if you've got something in your chart, if that eclipse at 29 degrees of Aries in April is activated in your chart, I would say that this is going to be another real growth of whatever happened at that time with Jupiter sitting on top of that eclipse. It's definitely going to grow some things here. And I would say it's going to grow things maybe even exponentially, as well as bringing in some benefits for you too. Now, this can represent a teacher or an advisor, or you could be the teacher or advisor. And maybe there really will actually be some folks, maybe some Aries folks that become teachers at this time or become advisors and take on a new role as a result of whatever happened at that eclipse in April. On the 19th, we have our second lunation. And it's just going to be a new moon in Taurus. It's not an eclipse. But it is at 28 degrees of Taurus and 25 minutes. It's at 8:53 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time on the 19th of May. I liked this new moon in Taurus. I think it's got a lot of nice aspects surrounding it. For instance, we have it sextiling Mars in Cancer. We now have Mercury going direct. And then, of course, the Sun and the Moon are together at this time at all new moons. And it sextiles Neptune. And then the other thing is, this new moon, that moon is exalted in Taurus. So this adds so many lovely benefits here, right? We have Mercury going direct, as I mentioned, at 6 degrees, will be sextiling Saturn. So this could clear up some misunderstandings that may have happened earlier on in May, where you get to another chance. So sextiles are chances or opportunities to maybe clear something up with superiors that confused somebody, or you got confusing messages, and you can get your manager or director to clear up some things for you. But that's what I got with now this Mercury going direct for sure. Now, the other thing that's going to happen, of course, is Jupiter. We talked about Jupiter being in Aries for so long. At this new moon, we have Jupiter now ingressing into Taurus as well, and conjuncting the north nodes. So I would say that take a look at my video. I'll put the link below if you wish to do that. I did do a whole Jupiter in Taurus video, and you may find that useful because I go into a lot more details about what does it mean with Jupiter in Taurus. And then I go into each of the signs and ascendants. But for me, this conjunction with the north nodes lends itself to the idea of our future. Our future is more patently clear in front of us. And we're talking about 0 degrees here too. So these are new, fresh things, new beginning energies. And certainly with Taurus, I mean, it could literally be a time when we see an increase in food products. That could be happening here. Or new beneficial ways to grow our food come to light at this time. And that may develop over the whole time period that Jupiter is in Taurus. So Jupiter will be in Taurus mid-May 2023 to mid-May 2024. Now, the ruler of that new moon, of course, is going to be Venus. And Venus is in Cancer at 12, it looks like 12 degrees, 59 minutes. So we have here at least a nice, it's not an exact sextile, but certainly Taurus does as a sign sextile Cancer here. And so it's not a bad place to actually have Venus, the ruler of this new moon, in Cancer. I would say this is females being protective. So maybe as a general overarching energy, we see a lot more effort by females put in to protect their family, to protect those they love, and again, with Cancer going back to the motherland, to protect their country. But it could be the rise of females here. They take on some kind of new role. Now, Venus can also rule, because these are money signs, that Venus itself can rule love as well as money and values. So I'm wondering at this new moon if there's going to be some kind of new introduction of maybe new money systems in different homelands, right? With Cancer representing the homeland. That could be something that happens as a new start at this time. The other thing that I got too with, now we have a Mercury going direct, sextiling Saturn. I got that transit as a possible tying up of loose ends. That's what I got here. So maybe something happened at the full moon eclipse for some folks that was either maybe intense and not necessarily confusing, although there may have been some mix-up because at that eclipse, we had Mercury retrograde. This I see taking the time, that's Saturn, and putting some time and consideration into tying up those loose ends that maybe were too loose at the beginning of the month of May, and tying those up neatly. Maybe also to a degree of making them more enduring, not having them just be there as things and ideas, but maybe putting ideas into an enduring form of some sort. I mean, that can literally mean a contract. So for some folks, that might be exactly what happens, right? Yeah. So I really liked this new moon in Taurus. I think that it really brings in a newness with regards to foodstuffs, like I talked about. It can bring in newness with regards to our money markets, that sort of thing. And of course, because the ruler is Venus, love can be in the mix here too. And certainly with Venus being in Cancer, it's going to be an energy of I want to be nurtured type of love. And maybe even a protective kind of love, where you want to feel safe, secure, and nurtured. All right, on the 20th, we have Mars going into Leo. And I think that's kind of cool too. That's like, let's just say Mars is a man going into Leo. They're not afraid to strut their stuff on the stage and make a spectacle of themselves, right? So we could see a little bit of that happening around the 20th too. Egos could be pretty high at this time. I mean, certainly Mars going into very much an ego type of sign, Leo. We could definitely have some egos getting pretty big here. It could also have some people too deciding that they assertively seek out and make it known who they love. On the 21st, so the next day, we have the sun then going into Gemini. And Gemini is a mutable sign. It likes to have a lot of friends. It likes collecting a lot of facts and information. But it very much likes to flit here and there. It's very sociable. It's the sign, one of the signs of the diplomat. It's just a different energy. I think it's a lighter energy and may help us come off that full moon eclipse more easily, where maybe we do some more socializing and having fun with our friends, that type of thing. On the 25th, we have a very nice aspect of Venus sextiling Uranus. So this could have sudden infatuations, or at least opportunities for that. People have opportunities to fall in love suddenly. It can be that, like, you see somebody across the room and you're both, your eyes light up and you're magnetically drawn. Certainly magnetically drawn is a good way to describe a Venus sextile Uranus. But I think this can also, because this whole month of May has this big influence of Scorpio and Taurus, which are money signs, I think this could also have some interesting opportunities for some people to maybe make some money. Or at least to make some changes, right? Uranus is about sudden, unexpected energy coming in, and it could be some opportunities to make some positive changes with regards to money. That's on the 25th of May. Also on that day, we talked about Mars going into Leo. Leo will be squaring Jupiter in Taurus. And so I really saw this as kind of like a butting of heads. Saturn is a fixed, or not Saturn, but Taurus is a fixed sign. And it doesn't like a lot of change. Mars likes to take action, and with the square, it's being prevented from taking action. So there's some kind of, there's a workaround that has to happen here with regards to, and actually I saw this because both Leo as a sign rules royalty, and then Jupiter as a planet rules royalty. I saw this as some kind of little tussle with regards to the royal family, and it could be the one we normally talk about, which is, the UK, but it could be other royal families too. And some of those do have, well, certainly, we do have Leo featuring in Charles's chart. So this could be Charles taking some kind of action here, where he's preventing some folks maybe in the royal family from doing something. I know we've got stuff in the press already. I'm just reading, though, the aspect here. But just as an aspect on its own, it's preventing things from expanding and stopping risks. So we could say, well, how could we generalize that? We can generalize that to the money markets, where action is taken on the world stage to prevent any risks being taken in the money markets. That could be there. So on the 27th, with the sun now in Gemini, it will be squaring Saturn. And so this is kind of ending the month here with to me, I took this as a caution. Gemini is all about communicating, collecting information, that sort of thing. Not necessarily collecting important information, but they could. And then, of course, Saturn is more learning our lessons. It's karma and it's time. So I think it's time, first of all, time for us to look at the facts, Gemini. And it's also time for us to be serious about what these facts mean. And I think this whole month of May, as I said before, relates to the money market systems. For others, it could for sure refer to your value system, right? And it can also refer to love too. But generally speaking, I see this month as the whole area of money, whether it's investments, the money that you make, the money you spend, that type of thing. And so this is just asking us to pay attention to the facts that are in front of us. Gemini also asks us to work with another, right? So it could have, maybe in some instances, people have to work with people in authority that they don't want to work with. They'd rather be off socializing or, enjoying themselves with their friends. But I think it's just, I got this as a wake-up call that we have to pay attention to the facts and not be living in a dreamland. And there's nothing wrong with looking at things realistically, right? This is being realistic at the end of the month. So when we look at June, both Venus and Mars are going to be in the lovely sign of Leo. So you can expect June to be full of lots of drama. I mean, a lot of drama. And some of it could be very enjoyable, especially for those falling in love, because Leo does rule true love, right? Now, the other thing is that Venus that is going to be in Leo will be in its shadow at 12 degrees of Leo. So for some folks, you may have a foreshadowing literally in June with regards to what? With regards to love, first and foremost. So that means relationships, money, and the values, especially the value of yourself. All three of those could be up, especially as we get into June, July, and August, when we have that whole Venus retrograde. I did a whole video on it. I'll put that link below too if you want to look at it. But I'll talk more about it too when I get into the June, July time period videos, right? We'll have a full moon in Sagittarius and we'll have a new moon in Gemini. Now, both of these are mutable signs, so they are flexible. They're willing to roll a little bit more with the punches. So I would say June will be more flexibility to some extent. But both of those signs do square Pisces, which of course is where Saturn is. So there may be some challenges for some Sagittarians and Geminis in June. All right, well, we'll talk more about that in the future. All right, so next what I'm going to do is to go into each of the sun signs and or ascendants. You can read for either, whichever really resonates with you is the real answer when people ask. My preference, if you ask my preference, is for you to read or listen to your ascendant first, because that gives you the area of your life, generally speaking. And of course, I'm using whole house system here, or equal house system, when I do these general predictions, and they are general predictions. You really have to know your chart really well and look at it carefully to get a true reading for yourself. All right, Virgo. So Virgo, this is a good time for you as well. These two lunations, you've got a sextile happening with that full moon eclipse in Scorpio, and your third house is being affected by it. Now, the sun will be in the opposite house, which is the 9th house. So I would say, straight off, some Virgos, if you want to publish something, some writing that you've got that you want to publish, this is an opportunity to do that. Now, you may have a few challenges, especially with regards to the Mercury retrograde going on in the 9th house. So just make sure your communications are clear, that if you're signing any contracts, that you read everything carefully, get expert advice if you're not sure of what you're signing. But this could bring an opportunity where you can close off a writing project and literally get it published. And I mean, when we think about Scorpio, Scorpio is kind of like the mystery side of life. It literally is death and rebirth. It is the more emotional side of life, deep emotions. It's our psychological selves as well. Or it deals with those types of things. So I'm thinking for some Virgos, if you've got something written that you want to get published, let's say is in the psychological realm or even the mystery realm, take advantage of that eclipse to make it happen. Just make sure you get communications correct and contracts correct. And that people are receiving your messages. That's the other thing. So don't give up if you don't hear from a publisher. Maybe they didn't get your message. Reach out again and maybe reach out again. All right, so when we look at the new moon, which I like in Taurus, that's going to be trying you. And it is in your 9th house, which is the 9th house of publishing. We just spoke about that. But the 9th house is also all foreign things, foreign people, foreign places, like foreign lands. It is the law. It is travel as well. So for some Virgos, you may be planning some travel at this time, some awesome travel. Maybe something that's going to really change your life in some way. That would be a good way to use this, is to look at some kind of travel that you want to do in 2023. And this brings in favorable energy to make that happen. Now, when we look at the other things that are in there, we have Uranus still in Taurus and will be for a few more years. We have Mercury going direct. So if there was any miscommunications regarding publishing something, any foreign connection, or even the law, that can all be cleared up at this new moon. And let's just talk about that. New moon is on the 19th of May. And I like it that Mercury's direct. So I really think there's whatever may happen at the beginning of the month that may be intense for you, Virgo, know that there'll be opportunities later on in the month, say around this new moon, to actually change people's minds, to change your mind, to correct any misunderstandings. And wow, maybe to get something published. We have Saturn that is in Pisces, and we also still have Neptune there too, opposing your sign, Virgo. And so I would say that, there's still this potential, especially with the Neptune, for confusion of some sort. Let's just hope it's instead, Neptune also rules inspiration. Let's just hope that you have some kind of hopeful inspiration with the influence of Saturn now there too. Saturn likes to put structure around things. It likes to make things real. And so maybe you could also, with Saturn being in Pisces, even though it's opposing your sign, Virgo, maybe you're going to have the opportunity to have some kind of enduring inspiration come in for you where maybe you can see your dreams coming true. Now, it's your 7th house we're talking about there, right, with Saturn. So maybe some inspirational dream come true with regards to partnerships. And this could be partnerships with regards to, say, marriage. It can be business partnerships. It can also be clients. Yeah, I like that. I like that opposition for you. I don't think it's going to be necessarily a bad thing because you got the influence of Neptune still there too. Wanting to make dreams come true. We can talk about that more later. Saturn has just entered into Pisces, so you'd have to have something. I think it's around 5 or 6 degrees, or maybe it gets to later than that. But it's still, at the first decan of Pisces. I'm talking about Saturn here in Pisces. So you really have to have something around that sort of degree point to have some kind of direct interaction, right? But at some point, Saturn will be affecting all Virgos, whether it's your ascendant and or your sun. But we have Jupiter also, as I mentioned, in Taurus, which will be in your 9th house. And this can bring some really good luck for you, Virgo. So especially going back to the whole thing about publishing, you could wrap up the month as long as you take care of the details. And Virgo, you're all about the details. You could have some really good luck come your way with regards to that. You can also have good luck if you're tying up some kind of legal matter of some sort. That could get resolved nicely for you. Yeah. All right. Take care of yourself, Virgo. All right, everyone. I hope everything works out with your money and your investments in this month of May. They will be highlighted, generally speaking. Sending everybody lots of love. I'd like to hear from everybody, of course. And if you want your chart done, you know I love doing astrology. All my contact info is below. And I look forward to hearing from you. So the next time you're going to hear from me is probably in June, another fabulous month with so much going on in Leo. Take care of yourself, everybody, and bye for now.